Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking a really close look at what absolutely should be a guaranteed slam dunk for PlayStation, Marvel's Wolverine. I mean, we're talking about an Insomniac Games production here, they have a pristine track record, and they're gearing up for a massive release this September. But instead of universal hype, a massive segment of the internet is literally clawing this game apart. So we're going to look at the data, the leaks, and the community discourse to figure out exactly why fans are turning on Marvel's Wolverine.
So you really have to ask, why is one of PlayStation's most anticipated upcoming games facing such relentless internet fury? It's a completely fascinating question, mostly because this backlash, it isn't just coming from one place. It's like a giant multi-layered cake of internet outrage. Today we're going to dive progressively deeper into these different layers. We'll separate the genuine gameplay critiques from the highly subjective culture war grievances, and even get into the corporate blowback.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the pre-release storm. You know, you really can't grasp the current anger without understanding how the public got their hands on this information in the first place. Just look at this number on screen, 1.6 terabytes. Back in late 2023, developer Insomniac suffered an absolutely historic ransomware hack. And when they refused to pay up, 1.6 terabytes of stolen company data was just dumped online. And this wasn't just, employee info, it included highly unfinished, early playable builds of Wolverine, meaning that for years, the public has been relentlessly picking apart a game that was essentially stripped bare in its most vulnerable, unpolished state. It completely shattered the normal, carefully controlled marketing cycle we're used to seeing for blockbuster releases, and honestly, it led to a ton of premature judgments.
Moving right along to Section 2, Gameplay and Mechanic Grievances.
Okay, so zooming in on the surface level of this backlash, one of the most fiercely debated questions in the community is right here. Why does Logan's suit heal? When preview footage showed Wolverine regenerating from heavy battle damage, fans immediately noticed his iconic suit was magically regenerating right alongside his body. For some folks, this completely broke their immersion. It actually sparked these wild internet theories. I mean, people were genuinely debating if Logan was using nanomachines or if the suit was woven from Reed Richards' unstable molecules just to make it make sense.
Well, Insomniac's head of technology, Mike Fitzgerald, offered a humorous but super practical response to that exact controversy. He pointed out that with Logan's absolutely brutal fighting style, if the suit took realistic damage, Wolverine would probably be naked after 5 minutes of action. So the big takeaway here is that keeping the suit intact isn't some massive lore oversight, it's purely a gameplay decision designed to help you, the player, maintain that superhero power fantasy without running around in shreds for the entire campaign. Sometimes realism just has to take a backseat to fun.
Another massive gameplay grievance was this viral claim going around that Wolverine is just a simplistic one-button quick-time event fest. Actually, scratch that narrative completely. Let's look at the actual facts confirmed by recent extensive hands-on previews. The game features optional stealth mechanics, and those quick-time events everyone was panicking about, a reviewer counted exactly 6 of them in 2.5 hours of gameplay. The combat is actually a deep, combo-based system featuring dedicated parry and dodge mechanics, and even a full character build skill tree. The idea that the game just plays itself, it just doesn't align with the confirmed data. When you judge a deeply layered combat system off stolen, half-finished alpha footage, it almost always leads to these kinds of false narratives.
All right, shifting gears to Section 3, Aesthetics and Uncanny Faces.
This visual conflict really just boils down to our own cinematic expectations colliding with reality. Think about it. For a quarter of a century, Hugh Jackman has been the definitive face of Wolverine in our minds. But the game's actual character model is heavily based on the voice actor, McIntyre. Because of that disconnect between what people expect and what they're actually seeing, a very vocal subset of the internet has been completely merciless. Viral posts have been claiming the character model radiates quote-unquote California soy boy energy and lacks grit. It's a textbook case of a studio trying to establish its own unique universe while colliding head-on with deeply entrenched pop culture expectations.
Now let's step into much murkier waters with Section 4, Culture Wars and Misinformation.
Things get highly politicized here. Our sources highlight a significant outcry from online circles who are calling the game woke or claiming it's been censored. And what sparked this specific outrage? Insomniac included optional settings menu toggles that allow players to turn down blood, gore, and profanity. That's it. Despite the game maintaining a hard M rating for its default extreme violence and dismemberment, just the mere presence of accessibility toggles to sanitize the experience for those who prefer it has somehow become a major flashpoint in online culture war debates.
We also see this manifesting in the game's writing credits. A widely circulated viral post claimed that Brittany Morris, an author of LGBT novels, was the lead screenwriter who completely ruined the game's story. But if we fact-check this claim, it reveals a completely different picture. Morris is indeed an advanced writer at Insomniac and definitely contributed to the project. But she is not the sole lead. She's one contributor on a massive 11-person writing team alongside top build writers like Mary Kenny and Walt Williams. It just highlights how unbelievably quickly misinformation can weaponize standard development credits into targeted outrage.
Which brings us to Section 5, the physical disk dispute. Sometimes, a game becomes a lightning rod for anger that's actually aimed at the parent company. In this case, Sony PlayStation. If we look at this timeline, PlayStation has been making a very clear push toward an all-digital future. Fast forward to the lead-up to Wolverine's release, and this major controversy erupts in Brazil. A prominent retailer there, Gamer Hut, suddenly pulled all their pre-orders for the physical edition of Marvel's Wolverine. Why? Because they were allegedly blocked by strict external requirements from offering their usual platform-funded discount coupons on physical discs. They totally refused to force their customers to pay full price, so they just pulled the physical listing entirely. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. There is a broader, systemic anger in the gaming community right now over expensive $70 price tags and the industry's forced march toward a digital-only ecosystem, where physical media is just left behind. And unfortunately for Insomniac, all of that ambient corporate frustration is being unfairly directed squarely at this specific game release. Wolverine is catching the heat for Sony's macro business strategies, making it a proxy war for consumer rights.
And that leads us to a very sobering reality in Section 6, the human cost.
It is so easy to get lost in the spreadsheets, the angry comments, and the leaked code. But we really have to look at the actual human beings making the game. This quote from Insomniac community director James Stevenson really hits hard. It's a relentless onslaught. Think about the heavy cumulative toll this takes on the mental health of Insomniac staff. They had their personal data stolen, their unfinished art dissected for years, they've been thrust in the middle of political culture war debates, and they're taking the brunt of corporate policy blowback. It's basically a perfect storm of modern internet toxicity raining down on a single team of creatives who are just trying to finish a superhero game.
Which brings us to our final, ultimate question. When Marvel's Wolverine actually launches this September, will the sheer quality of the finished, polished product overcome years of controversy and noise? Or are we looking at the new normal for blockbuster entertainment, where games are clawed apart before they even reach the starting line? It's definitely something to deeply ponder as we watch the final weeks of this release unfold. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes open because the real story is always in the details.